This week in games, PlayStation 5 might be releasing a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year. PlayStation Mobile Execs are leaving en masse. The French leadership is failing its people. And we review Yakuza 0. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 155. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Hi, people. I think I did pretty good on that mouth sync that I just did. That was one of my better ones.
Well, you gotta remember, you are fighting the internet on that one.
I am. Damn it.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
In my perception, it was the best one I've done. But
Indeed.
Oh, well.
Connor, how are you doing, my friend?
Good. We've had a long day, you and me.
We have. Yeah.
Recording things for this podcast of ours.
We're doing the Gamescast, which we'll break it down here in a segment. Last, which is usually not our MO. We usually do it first. So expect a different type of energy, ladies and gentlemen. You might be in for a little something here. Also, it was a slow news week, so you know we're not really here for the craziness this week. But we did have a good time recording our Yakuza 0 review, which is out now on the channel, youtube.com/@2pennygames. And also attached to the end of this podcast. And we had a good old time. What a time we had recording the Piggy Bank, which will be out next week or later this next week, Saturday at 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. Now, Connor, you also last week reviewed for us Final Fantasy 16. That review is live now. Have you had any more time? You hadn't beaten it when we did the review, but we're a week separated from that. Have you gotten any further? Have you beaten it? Has your opinion of the game changed at all?
Yeah, it got a little bit further. There was a character who was made out to be a very good villain early on, and that character's arc resolved horribly. It did a really first of all, it tried to do the sympathy card, and it was just not there at all in any sense of the word. But also just like some weird plot details were surrounding this character that just didn't work with what she was doing and what she was going through. Spoiler. Not really.
Are you talking the wind dominant?
No. I like that character consistently, but it's the other one.
Wait, is that character... Spoilers for Final Fantasy 16. Has that character died with where I'm at in the game? I can't even remember.
You tell me.
Do you kill her after when she turns into Garuda, and then you fight Garuda?
Oh, you did that part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the end of her? Okay. Yeah. All right. I thought so. What a weird character to throw in there now that I think about it. But, it is what it is. Spoilers. Sorry, guys. Very early spoilers, though. Very early. The game has not even started yet, according to you, when I texted you last night. I was like, hey, I'm at this point. Is it over yet? Or has it started yet?
I would say it had started by that point, by the way. But as for you, I'd say when Act 2 hits is when... Well, before Act 2 ends.
So far.
Begins.
That's so far. That's so
far. What mission are you on? Spoilers once again for...
I'm hanging out with Jill. We're going out. We're going to go do something.
Huh.
It's the first time we're out with Jill doing something. Don't remember what we're doing.
Well,
we met Sid along the way, and we sort of said our goodbyes to Sid, but of course, he'll be back.
Mm-hmm. Are you... What area of the game are you in? What place?
Still early areas, so I don't know. Where I couldn't tell you a name of a place. So, sorry about that. I'm not really fresh with it. We met the wife of the dude who was like escorting us in the flashback sequences.
Yep.
And we stayed at her place, and then she gave us clothes of our dad, old dad clothes, which I thought was weird that they had. Let's be honest, that royal family was getting down and dirty. They was fucking. They was just spraying fluids all over each other, left and right.
It's that feudal lifestyle, that monarchy that you just gets a little bit complicated.
Of course. It gets a little fun too. You know what I'm saying? But Connor, we're not here to talk about the bedroom of monarchs. We're here to talk about video games because, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Two Penny Gamescast, your weekly video game news show where me and Connor, we each come to you with two topics, two pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. We are focused on the nerdy news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We come to you every week, Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice. But you can watch us live Sunday at 4 p.m. Central Time, twitch.tv/2pennygames. We had a very active chat earlier in the show, and so I'm very, very excited to see what comes of that later on. But let's go ahead. Let's get right into it because we've got a meaty Yakuza review to get to later on. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our first topic of the day. My first penny. Connor, would you believe it or not, but it appears that there is a PlayStation 5 Slim coming possibly even later this year.
Honestly, didn't see that coming.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, well, let's jump into it. Sony, quote, expected to release a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year, end quote, priced at $399.99, Microsoft says. This is from Wesley Yinpul over at IGN. Microsoft believes Sony will release a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year, priced at $399.99, according to a court document. The document was released as part of the Federal Trade Commission versus the Microsoft trial to determine the fate of a proposed preliminary injunction against the $69 billion buyout of Activision Blizzard. In a paragraph on price, Microsoft attempted to convince Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley that the Nintendo Switch should be considered in the same market as the Xbox Series console and the PlayStation 5, an argument it believes boosts the image of Xbox as losing the console war in third place. It's the final sentence in this paragraph that's sure to ruffle Sony boss Jim Ryan's feathers, as it not only outs the long-rumored existence of the PlayStation 5 Slim, but its price too. IGN asked Sony for comment, quote, PlayStation likewise sells a less expensive digital edition for $399.99 and is expected to release a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year at the same reduced price point, reads the document. The bombshells continue, with Microsoft saying further down, quote, Sony is also anticipated to release a handheld version of the PlayStation 5 later this year for under $300. This is in relation to Sony's announced Project Q, a handheld streaming device that wirelessly connects to the PS5. Sony has yet to announce a release date or price. Connor, what's your take? How do you feel?
Hey, if your goal is to sell a cheaper version of your console so more people can buy it, all the more power to you. I wonder how this would look ultimately. But I don't know why. I know they always do slim versions of consoles, but I just didn't even think of it for this one. But I'm wondering if it's going to have any kind of reduced quality in how it performs.
I mean, the PlayStation 5 Pro and likewise the PS4 Slim, which just became the standard edition of the PS4, did release about 3 years into the console cycle last generation, 2016, I want to say. And it had a short marketing run-up to release as well, where like they were like, hey, we're doing it. There was lots of rumors, though, prior to it. And I don't feel like we've had a lot of rumors about it. Here's my thing. I think Microsoft is just saying shit. Mm-hmm. I think they're guessing. I think,
it might be.
Yeah. I think they're like, well, what did they do last generation? All right, it's about time for that. So, it makes sense because we are 3 years into this generation. So, it does make sense for them to just be like, yeah, sure, they're probably doing this. And then for them to talk shit about the Project Q and just be like, yeah, it's going to be under $300 or whatever. And to like big it up as it being bigger than it is, but cheaper so that, that the Switch is included in this argument or whatever. It's smart. Listen, but it's clearly Microsoft just throwing shit at a wall, trying to get what they want. Now, would I want a PS5 Slim? I guess, man. The PS5 is a big machine, so I'd like a smaller version of that. It's hard to take the PS5 on trips, to pack it in a bag and take it somewhere. It's hard to do that. Would I personally buy one? No. Do I think it's like actually a PS5 Slim that's happening? Also no. What I think is happening is the rumored the digital edition of the PS5, the one that I have that you don't, Connor, where there is no disc drive. I think that's just going to become the standard PlayStation 5. and they're gonna stop making the ones with disk drives, and then they're gonna release that that external disk drive that we've heard so many rumors about, where you just kind of plug it into your PS5 and it operates as your disk drive for when you need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really see myself buying it myself, but really just for the size of it, because you are right. PlayStation 5 is huge. So a smaller version is always welcome.
Yeah.
Though don't think I think this kind of just marks the midway point of the PlayStation 5's life cycle. Now that they know that, okay, people who wanted the main consoles out, let's go ahead and do this next one to maybe boost up sales a bit more, because people will see it at the reduced price, to the smaller size, and that smaller group of people that were looking for those kinds of things can now get it.
Yeah, and I mean, we're looking at a traditional life cycle for a console here, and really, it's just the argument of when does everything go digital. And I would argue next generation is probably the one where everything goes digital.
Mm-hmm.
And the PlayStation 4 launched in 2013. The PlayStation 5 launched in 2020, so about 7 years between the two. PS4 Pro came out in 2016, like I said, alongside the PS4 Slim. And I don't think we're getting a Pro version of the 5. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it took a long time to get the PS5 kind of rolling, just because of hardware shortages and the like. So it was, granted, there was a million models of the PlayStation 3 for that same reason, because they could not get the shit on shelves because of the 2008 recession, which made that generation unusually long. And so, yeah, I think it's just a matter of like, hey man, like we're so deep into this generation, we should just go ahead and be thinking about a PlayStation 6. Let's make a PS5 just so that we can make models faster and for cheaper. And, you know, we can hide behind, you know, a quote unquote price reduction, which isn't really happening here. And then let's market this Project Q or whatever, you know. That's where I'm more interested. Microsoft says Project Q is to cost less than $300. Connor, how are you on that? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's just like, yeah, that's good for them. For
it's
sales.
Fucking better, right?
Yeah, it's been out long enough. I'm really just curious as to what the difference is in performance is going to be, if there's any at all.
Yeah. I mean, because we already know it's working with the streaming the game to the PlayStation Q, we'll call it. Much like how you can play on your phone that way, get a backbone and play on your phone that way. So, or through your Steam Deck or whatever. So this is just sort of Sony's in-house equipment for that. To me, to even get me interested in acquiring something like that, because I am moderately interested, because, you know, sometimes the girlfriend's over, she wants to watch TV, I want to play games, so this would be a nice compromise where I can sit in you know, the bed or on the couch or whatever and play right there while she's off watching whatever she wants to watch. You know, that's a nice compromise. So I could see myself buying that. The thing is the price point and the amenities of it. So like, how well does it perform? Does the like, is there a lot of input lag or anything, or is it, you know, 1-to-1 enough? I know it's not going to be exact. It just won't be. But, you know, if it's enough to where I could play Diablo, that'd be nice. Or if I could play, what's another slow game that I'm playing this year? I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Power Wash Simulator or something, you know? That'd be nice. And or Starfield. Starfield, I think, will be slow paced enough to where I could play it, you know, through streaming or right back. What is the screen like? What is the screen size? And how, you know, how nice is the screen? And then what's the battery life? Those are the important factors of it, alongside the price point. I want it to be priced about $150. That's the nice price point. That would make me go, yeah, okay. I'd be fine with investing in that. If I were to guess, with Sony, it's probably going to be $200. And for $200, I got to see reviews and what the general take is on it. And then maybe it becomes like I just asked for it for Christmas or something, or my birthday as a gift from somebody.
I think it might be $275.
$275?
Mm-hmm.
That's a really weird price point, Connor.
I know. It's gonna be.
Where does the 75 come in?
Like somewhere around, at least around that range. Just maybe 250.
250 is where I start going, nah. You know.
But the big issue with it is you have Switch, which has an entirely other catalog of games
Yeah.
that people would rather probably have for at least in my perspective, would rather have for a handheld game device. And
It
then you
doesn't
also
have the hardware.
but then you also have Steam Deck, which has a wider range of games that you can play, and that's already out. That's already tested. We know it's good. Pricier, of course. So that's the big caveat of whether people would prefer that over the PlayStation Portable, whatever the hell it's PlayStation Q. But I don't know. It didn't. I don't really think people were really looking for a we need to have a handheld version of the PS5. There's always going to be market for things.
I mean, I want it. I want a PlayStation 5 on the go. I want to be able to play the next Naughty Dog game or Spider-Man 2 wherever I want. But the problem is that they're not going an actual hardware route. They're going a streaming route, which just adds a whole list of caveats and asterisks to the idea of me purchasing it. If this was straight up just like a, hey, yeah, it's all of your PlayStation 5 games, but it doesn't really run as well, but it works fine and the battery sucks, like, that would be way more interesting than the product that they're showing me here. Here, it's like, all right, well, it better be cheap.
But they like the moolah. It might not be as cheap
They
as
do like moolah, Connor. They do. They like moolah so much to the deficit of other people, which brings us to our next topic of the day. Topic number 2, my second penny of the day. PlayStation Mobile has lost another top exec. This is from VGC by Andy Robinson, and this is a thing, I forget, did we cover this on the podcast? Because they lost 2 people a while back. I don't remember if we covered it or not.
If we did, it was so, just
it was a smaller thing.
Yeah, smaller thing. We just kind of went by.
PlayStation's mobile division has lost another top executive weeks after confirmation of a change of leadership. This is the VGC article again. As reported by MobileGamer.biz, Mikhail Katkov, who was the managing director of recently acquired Savage Game Studios, has announced he's leaving the company less than a year after it was acquired by Sony. Quote, "I'd like to believe I've done my fair part in taking the company from 0 to 1, he said on LinkedIn. Quote, "Now I'm eager to watch from the side of Najim and Mike take it from 1 to 100. I'm going to try that again. Now I'm eager to watch from the side as Najim and Mike take it from 1 to 100. Quote, "In the same breath, I wish nothing but the best to Oliver Courtmarsh and Chris Davis, who are leading PlayStation's charge onto mobile. I can't wait to play all the amazing games from all the fantastic developers," end quote. Although Savage is a relatively new studio established in 2020, it was co-founded by veteran mobile directors Katkov, Rovio, Zynga, Najim Adir, Wargaming, Rovio, and Michael McManus, Wargaming, Insomniac. Confirmation of Katkov's exit comes just weeks after news of a leadership change at PlayStation Mobile. Nicola Sebastiani was a high-profile appointment when he joined in 2021, and having previously led Apple Arcade. Over the past 2 years, SIE has quietly built a team of experienced mobile talent, hiring people from Apple, Kabam, Meta, Tencent, Super Evil Megacorp, Samsung, Niantic, Zynga, Riot, and more. Speaking during a business briefing last year, SIE President Jim Ryan said the company expected half of its annual releases to be on PC and mobile by 2025.
So all these experienced people, I have no doubt know how to do their job. But what does PlayStation Mobile do? What pops into our mind when we think of this? And I can't tell you a single damn thing. It's kind of weird for me to say I took it from 0 to 1. I'd never heard that before.
That's not a thing that people say, bro. That doesn't sound great.
That's almost like he even admitted, I took it and didn't make it collapse. Is basically all he's saying.
To me, that sounds like we've built foundation. We have a business model now. Now we have a business model. But the project we're working on, I'm not excited about, so I'm going to dip and I'm going to leave. But, it doesn't sound like troubled ground to me. To me, it sounds like, okay, we've set the foundation and the standard of what this business is going to do. I'm not personally interested in this. I'm going to hand it off to these guys who are super talented and great at their jobs. And I'll see y'all later. Is what this sounds like to me. The thing is that PlayStation Mobile has lost several top executives in the last month or two. And now it's all right, well, if everybody's leaving, then what can we expect from this? When the captains of the ship leave, where does the ship go? Not to too many great places. It usually sinks. So it's not enough for me to be like, all right, PlayStation Mobile done. No, I'm sure mobile experiences from PlayStation are still going to come. It's just,
Nothing substantial.
nothing. I don't think anything crazy substantial as of right now will be happening. Sorry, Phil sent me something that doesn't matter, but that's that. Connor, you got anything else to add about PlayStation Mobile?
I'm interested to see what they do with it, but not hopeful.
What would you even want to play from PlayStation on your
Nothing
phone?
for me. Nothing for me at all. I on my phone, the last thing I'm thinking of is really even playing games. I go through Twitter. I go through.
I mean,
YouTube.
I could see like a Last of Us like village sim where like you're sending people like it's all like like your timers and so forth where you're sending people out on trips to go explore and then they come back and very like Clash of Clansy and then like you're investing in your like little village or whatever. Like that would be kind of neat, right?
Sure.
Back in the day we had like an Uncharted Temple Run game.
They could revive that. I guess.
Look at what I'm reaching for here, man. Like,
yeah, it kind of shows you how hopeful this is.
I mean, we'll see, man. I'm not willing to like cast my hat either which way. It's just, Anyways, but Connor, let's go ahead and move on to topic number 3. Your first penny of the day. What have you got for us?
Well, we got an article from IGN here. Ryan Dinsdale, classic source that we draw on many times. Thank you, Ryan. Psychonauts 3 isn't coming anytime soon. Don't get your hopes up. Fans hoping for a Psychonauts 3 reveal shouldn't get their hopes up, as franchise creator and Double Fine Productions founder Tim Schafer has said it's not being worked on at the moment. Schafer told Cressup on YouTube that Double Fine is currently in a, quote, closed doors stage and isn't ready to talk about what it's working on. But he personally isn't working on a sequel to 2021's Psychonauts 2. Quote, I'm not working on Psychonauts 3, he said plainly. We're kind of at this Willy Wonka closed doors phase, but soon we can open up and cause a lot of harm to a lot of children, just like Willy Wonka. This comes despite what many thought was an obvious Psychonauts 3 tease ahead of the 2023 Xbox Game Showcase, though Schafer insisted he didn't see it. A Microsoft Twitter account shared a tic-tac-toe board that spelled out Psycho outside of 3 crosses. Many put this together to tease Psychonauts 3, but Xbox Game Showcase came and went with no reveal. NRA didn't rue. They gave it a 10.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Funny comment. Funny comment from Tim Schafer.
It's a very funny comment from Tim Schafer. I mean, this doesn't surprise me. This is like Tim Schafer, Double Fine. They like doing crazy, weird stuff. It's not often you get sequels from them. I think it's strange that we've even gotten multiple Psychonauts games at all. I'm talking the VR game that came out before 2, and then obviously 2 itself, which came out 2 years ago, and people really enjoyed it. Phil really enjoyed it. I believe it was in his top 10 somewhere there. But yeah, this should be of no shock to us. Double Fine likes doing weird artsy stuff, and so they're gonna move on to something else, right?
That's true.
Yeah, but I am excited to see what else they're gonna move on for, because it's gonna be the first game completely in-house underneath the Xbox family.
Evan, I'm hoping out for the thing that I always wanted to come back, and I might get it, but most likely not.
Ooh,
Brutal Legend 2. I would love if they made that game get a sequel that it deserves. Because
let's go.
Jack Black said that he'd be interested in coming back a while ago because, he likes those kinds of projects. And I believe Tim Schafer also said he liked Brutal Legend a lot as well. So it's in the realm of possibility, but they might be wanting to go with new things. Something big and new.
Connor, if we get a Brutal Legend remastered in the next 2 years, it's Brutal Legend 2.
It is. Yeah.
That's what it is. I'm saying it right now.
It'd be pretty easy to get Brutal Legend remastered, I think. It's not like you need to do much to it.
I don't know why we don't have it now.
You can get it on PC, but not on consoles, not on new-gen consoles.
You might be able to get it on Xbox Series X.
Fair enough.
Game Pass or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm speaking out my ass. I don't know.
Either way, we need a second game. That first game was so fun. Had so much charm to it. And gameplay-wise, I wanted to see what they could do with it with a more modern take on it. Because it had some interesting mechanics in it back in the day. A lot of like RTS systems that could be a bit more refined.
A baby's first RTS.
Yeah, exactly. And I still was terrible at it, just like the complex RTS games. Had some nice action, but all these things can really just only go up.
Connor, Brutal Legend is not in the Game Club list.
Is it not? Huh.
No.
Are you fixing that right now?
I'm fixing that right now, friend.
That's good.
There we go.
Phil needs to play that game because I think he would like it a lot.
I'm almost mad that we. I can't do that here. I'm almost mad that we didn't think of that before we spun the wheel. But we've spun the wheel. Keep watching to the end of the episode to find out what we're landing on. So that you can play along with us. Anyways, Psychonauts 3 not coming. I don't think anybody's really surprised by that, and I don't think people are too heartbroken by that. I mean, Psychonauts 2 did make some waves. People really enjoyed Psychonauts 2. I think it probably did better than the first game. I wouldn't, say no to a Psychonauts 3, but I think it's just better if Double Fine goes and does something else. If it's another Brutal Legend game, that would be cool. But I would also just take whatever Tim Schafer brings us,
Interesting creations come from Double Fine, so yeah.
Of course. Connor, moving on to our final news story of the day. Topic number 4, your second penny of the day. What do you have for us here, man? All right.
We have an NPR article from Vanessa Romo.
Oh, NPR. So we're going to talk about something that really matters.
Exactly. You'd think, right?
Something important, backed up with statistics and evidence. Cool. Mm-hmm. Let's go.
So here it is, guys. You've maybe heard this before, but after days of destruction, Macron blames a familiar boogeyman video game. Oh no. Fueled by rage over the police killing of a teenager during a routine traffic stop in June, throngs of young people in France have been lashing out against alleged racial profiling and calling for greater police accountability. Over the last week, protesters have lit thousands of cars on fire, attacked schools, town halls, police stations, banks, and businesses, and set nearly 1,000 buildings ablaze. Some in the Paris suburb of Les Roses rammed a burning car into a mayor's home. Estimates of the damage have been projected to be about $1.1 billion.
Hell yeah.
As a result, thousands of young people have been arrested since the rioting began in the days after 17-year-old Nahel M. was killed on June 27th. According to France's Interior Ministry, the average age of those arrested is 17. The crisis has exposed deep rancor within marginalized and often low-income communities over discrimination. Nahel is of North African descent and a general lack of opportunity. President Emmanuel Macron has blamed social media for the devastation, but he has also claimed that video games have inspired copycat violence and vandalism. Quote, it sometimes feels like some of them are experiencing, on the streets, the video games that have intoxicated them, end quote. Macron said in a press conference on July 1st. He added that protesters are using Snapchat and TikTok to organize themselves and spread a mimicking of violence, which for the youngest leads to a kind of disconnect from reality. World leaders turn to an outdated explanation. Concerns that video games promote shootings, massacres, or rioting are now about half a century old. It has been traced back to the 1976 release of Death Race, an arcade video game which put players behind the wheel of a car to mow down humanoid figures for points. The argument gained renewed traction in the 1990s with the release of the much more realistic first-person shooter games. It is an old boogeyman that politicians have latched onto in the wake of horrific tragedies, but it has become less common as troves of studies have largely conducted that there is no causal link between video games and violent behavior. Still, that hasn't stopped world leaders from attempting to draw a correlation between the two. Just 3 months ago, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva blasted video games for, quote, teaching kids to kill. I doubt there's a kid of 8, 9, 10, 12 years old who is not used to spending a great deal of time playing this rubbish, he said at a conference to address hate speech on social networks. In 2019, following 2 mass shootings that happened just days apart, one in Dayton, Ohio, and another in El Paso, Texas, President Donald Trump told America that we must stop the glorification of violence in our society. He added, this includes the gruesome and grisly video games that are now commonplace. I will, just for the larger sake of the conversation, to beat a dead horse, Christopher Ferguson, a professor at Stetson University in Florida who has studied the impact of such games on the public, said he is surprised at Macron's comments. The president is 45 years old and belongs to a generation raised with video games, so seeing him mention this is almost anachronistic. Smart word. Ferguson said, sounding perplexed. The evidence is very clear. Whatever may be going on in France, whatever violence is occurring, it certainly is not due to video games, to violence in video games. Decades of research, especially long-term experience spanning decades, have consistently found that playing video games does not cause even prank-level aggression behaviors, let alone violent crimes, Ferguson said. He also noted that the overall crime in the U.S. dropped significantly between 1993 and 2020, the same period during which violent video games soared in popularity. that's about the end.
Listen, we could kill you. We could beat you to death with the statistics and the facts and the debunked theories and all this. Simple matter of the fact is, yo, Macron, you suck, bro. You're trash.
I don't think he has a very high approval rating, even before all of this started happening.
Dude,
I don't think he's very well liked.
Dude,
For good reason.
You're looking for a reason. You're looking for, a finger to point, some blame to lay at somebody else's feet. The simple fact is, much like in this country, your country has allowed police activities to run rampant and unchecked, and it's a power balance that needs to be taken into account and restructured and rebuilt. It's a system that is broken and doesn't work, and unfortunately for you, the French take it to the streets to an extreme that I wish the Americans did. God, I wish we would do this.
I will push back on that because, as it said in this one, schools have been attacked, libraries as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
Smaller businesses.
That does suck.
Yeah, definitely. Wanton violence that isn't directed properly, and now you have
run a burning car through a mayor's house, though. I'm down with that.
Sure, who cares? No one, I certainly don't. But
right?
There's no correlation to this. Even when GTA was coming out, as it said, this is a long-running thing. Jack Thompson, I believe, was the famous American politician who was always on the beat saying how video games cause violence. There's no evidence anywhere to suggest that. It's just correlation being connected by people who haven't played video games themselves and are older. So they just don't realize that it has no impact on people.
Well, and they want a scapegoat. They
do.
They don't want to take the blame. They don't want to recognize that, it's them in charge and they've let their people down. Like, you're not taking the steps necessary to change what needs to change for society to be better. You don't want to take those hard steps. You want to keep getting your funding from your fucking what do they call it? Donators and shit. And you want to just sit up on your high horse and point down at us and make it hard for us to live, bro. Like, this is, and this, extends past even, I'm talking police brutality and the justice system, which has failed us on many levels. And if you don't know, you should get educated. But it extends to every system when you talk about housing, when you talk about capitalism as a whole, when you talk about government interference in day-to-day living. Like, you are looking for a scapegoat for why the people are mad at you for making their lives horrible. Like,
it's never this simple. It's never like some individual thing, whether it's video games, movies, books, that you can point to it. And once again, I just said multiple times, said it in this article, never proven.
Yeah, never proven. Well, even the jab at social medias, TikToks and Snapchats to organize. Well, now you're just mad that we are communicating with each other and that we can organize with each other, and we can, because we know how to build a better world that you are preventing us from keeping. So you're mad at the youth for taking their lives into their own hands and taking their futures into their own hands, while you'd rather just sit pretty up top and do nothing. So, Macron, you're a trash human being, and you're getting what you deserve, bro.
Maybe you'll get voted out.
Oh, fingers crossed. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for the news this week. Honestly, we ran even longer than I was expecting, Connor, because boy, oh boy, do we have a meaty Yakuza 0 review coming for you from our 2 Penny Game Club. So we are going to launch right into that. But for those who are checking out after the news segment, maybe you've already watched the YouTube review that was out yesterday. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, have a great time. And we'll see you here in just 2 seconds. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to a 2 Penny Game Club review. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friends and co-hosts. Say hello to the people, Connor, Elliott.
Hi, guys. How you doing? Ready to review a game.
Connor, you love to do the little miming thing, but I swear to God, I'm certain for new viewers, it throws them off, and they don't 100% know who's speaking.
That's good. Keep them on their toes. See if they're paying attention.
And then I'll say hello to the people, Phil Shoemaker.
Dame, dame, dame yo, dame, no yo.
Very nice. Gentlemen, we are here today to review and rank Yakuza 0. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, our 2 Penny Game Club is a show where once a month, me and the boys, we play in the background a video game and then review it at the beginning of every new month for your enjoyment. We have done games such as The Last of Us, God of War Ragnarok, Chrono Trigger, and both Portal games and several Resident Evils. Now, it is time we got to the giant itself, Yakuza. Starting with Yakuza 0, the initial release date of March 12th, 2015. It sold quite possibly the best-selling title of the franchise. Yakuza 0 sold 2 million copies, and currently, for PlayStation 4, sits at an 85. Gentlemen, am I correct in saying all of us played the PlayStation version of the game?
That is correct.
No.
Like Steam.
Oh, you played on Steam, Connor.
I did play on Steam, yeah, because I had it originally. So when we get this for the game club, I was like, all right, well, yeah, I already bought the game. So there we go.
There you
Got it
go.
on sale.
There you go.
PlayStation Plus, Tavin.
PlayStation Plus?
It's on PlayStation Plus.
Oh, nice. I bought it when it came out. But it's on one of them like PS Plus like super tiers or some shit, right?
I don't know. I have premium, so.
Yeah, it's on one of them. It's on one of them shits. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. Connor, I'm going to start with you, my friend. You were the first to beat it. You played the most to get it through as much as you could before your Final Fantasy 16 review last week. Now, tell me, Connor, what is your review of Yakuza 0?
Well, after 38 hours with the game Yakuza 0, I can say that this was a fabulous game. The cool factor of it is 110%, first of all. No matter who you are, even if you're not a fan of the story, the characters, it is manly in the good way. And that is mainly because of the characters. There's a dual storyline that goes on during this game that's juggled with very well. The two main characters, Kiryu, Majima, both have interesting backstories, interesting character motivations and character traits, as well as everyone else does in this game, because it's very much a story-focused game. The gameplay is very fun. It's got a variety of different modes that you can do with each character to, switch up gameplay, and has a little bit for everyone, for whoever might be playing this game. But the big thing is the story. All of the characters in it are multifaceted, from the main characters to the villains to the allies of the main characters. They all seem like actual human beings, which very much comes into play with this story, which is ridiculous, but ridiculous in a more grounded way. Not grounded in real life, but as far as video games go. And it has so many twists and turns to where you're always looking for that next bit. And with the dual storyline that's going on, it constantly leaves you with one character story unfinished and goes to the other one, leaving you just to say, oh, I really want to see how Majima's story goes on. But then Kiryu starts up again, and then by the time his parts are done, you say, oh, I want to go back to Kiryu again. But then you go back to Majima, and you're reminded once again of all the crazy stuff that's going on then. And also it has recaps as well, so there's really no chance at all you have of not knowing what's going on, because the story does get pretty ridiculous. But as I said before, it's ridiculous in like a good way, in a way that you're just like, oh, how did I not see that plot point come up? Cool. And then it just builds off from there. It also has some amazing side quests, sub-stories as they're called, that, they're like individual stories. They're not fetch quests. They're not generic, go and complete this, boring task and you get a reward for it. The rewards are included into it. It's more focused on the actual sub-stories that are going on rather than, anything you might get from a gameplay perspective. I love this game, and it's one of those ones that even after you're done, you can get a lot of enjoyment out of. You have an adventure mode that you can go around to do those sub-stories, do all of the activities that are located in the places that you are in Japan, which can range from karaoke, go from bowling. You can go out and have yourself a bite to eat. You can go and watch videos. It's very fun, and I love my time with Yakuza 0.
Connor.
Hey,
You did it for the trophy.
I did it for the trophy.
Well,
I have that trophy.
So do I.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything that's made me more uncomfortable than that. But to build off of that, Connor, I'm pretty much 100% in agreement with you. Yakuza 0 is one of the most fun games I've ever played. Don't be dissuaded by its lower budget presentation. It's only Japanese voice acting. Don't be dissuaded by its very slow start. It is a slow burn video game. But as soon as it opens up, it is just a breadth of just activities, of just fun things to do, wrapped around a combat system that I think is deep enough to explore and play with and have fun with, but simple enough to where it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to repeat this type of action for the next 50 hours. And as far as its story goes, certainly a core pillar of the game, but I believe that the game is really just focused around just having something to do every 30 seconds, every 45 seconds. There is a new quest opening up, a new mini game to play, a new total game mechanic that was hidden 15 hours in and didn't even dive into until you're in chapter 6, 7, 8. Characters that are super interesting and you feel for. I think its story is ridiculous. And by the end of the game, it's damn near just stupid. But the emotional beats that hit every single time. And I would say more often than not, when they want you to feel something, you feel it. But it's also a game to where your level of enjoyment can totally scale with just how much you want to put in that moment. Do you want to like focus on story and have this deep, compelling narrative of a crime drama laid out in front of you? Sure. Do you want to just have a goofy time and sing karaoke and, beat up nerds in cosplay? Absolutely, you can do that too. Do you just want to run around the small city? What is the name of the city that
Kamurocho and Sotenbori.
Kamurocho. So if you just want to run around Kamurocho or Sotenbori, and put a podcast on while you basically play real estate simulator, you can do that too. This game is as flexible as it wants to be, and I think the real genius of it is just how budget it really is. Like, the game doesn't look pretty, and the game has a wide scale of cutscenes of like fully animated and look good and are voice acted, down to these are single frame cutscenes shown to you one frame after the other with no voice acting attached to it at all, and everywhere in between. But the beauty of that is they are able to just jam pack this game full of content. Hundreds of hours of content in the one game, and the main story only takes about 30. I sunk over 50 just running around doing all the side stuff, which was just as engaging, just as fun, just as entertaining as the main narrative is. Yakuza 0, I think, is just one of the most fun games I've ever played, even though its budget restricts it from being one of the best games ever. Phil.
Yakuza 0 is an open-world beat-em-up game wherein you play as protagonist Kazuma Kiryu and Goru Majima as they run around the cities of Kamurocho and Sotenbori, respectively. It is an insanely fun time. This game is jam-packed with satisfying combat, ridiculous heat moves, which are specialty moves you can get from picking up stuff in your surroundings and hitting enemies with. Interesting other gameplay mechanics, such as karaoke if you want to play a rhythm game, or even a disco where you can go around and dance. You can also, like Tavin said, do a real estate simulator, or open your own cabaret of pretty ladies in which to entertain little party-going men that want some entertainment. What a fantastic time this game is. The story is a roller coaster of it's just insane. It's just packaged insanity. Going through the city of Kamurocho as Kiryu, you're a Yakuza who is trying to clean up the streets and clear his name from being framed for murder. And you have to figure out who framed you. And you run around and you find all these different characters. And you make all these friends, and you have your friend Nishikiyama, who runs around and does karaoke with you, and helps you fight sometimes, and he gives you tips on outfits. Mm-hmm. And just a lot of fun. There's a lot of really awesome bits in it, like there's all these sub-stories that you go through, and there's stuff that, if you spend enough time at karaoke, someone's be like, hey, you're pretty good at karaoke, but I'm better. And then they'll challenge you to a karaoke off, basically. Or like a dance off if you're at the disco. There's those mechanics, those mini games I talked about before in the the real estate and the cabaret, there's entire plot lines tied to just those two things. There's almost and there's bowling. Did you know that you can bowl in this game? That's insane. There's also I think billiards isn't in this one. That's a different game.
Billiards is in this one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking that was in Yakuza Kiwami. This game is insane, and I love it, and I had such a great time with it. To complete the story, I put in, I think, 35 hours. Let's see. I put it in chat the other day. 39 and a half hours, and I put in another maybe 8 or 9 since. And I'm still like 38% in the completion for the percentage of the completing the game. There's so much packed into this game, and it's insane. I have to disagree with Tavin. I think the game looks great. I love the style it has. All of the voice acting is awesome. I love the
To be clear, I think the style of the game is awesome, like the graphics and the animated parts of it. But I just think like quality of textures, it does not look good, and quality of character models, it does not look good. Like this is 2015. Okay. Compare that against like The Last of Us. Compare that against like Grand Theft Autos.
If they're not a named character,
especially if they're not a named character.
Yeah, right. Also, if it's a named character, they're probably ripped. They have abs, they have so many muscles, they are fucking ripped to shit. It's insane how toned some of these older men are. It's ridiculous, and I love this game so much, and it's probably one of my new favorite games of all time.
Very nice. Very exciting. Yeah, I had gone shopping with my girlfriend for some new clothes, some new summer wear this last week, and I just happened to have grabbed this shirt, and I was like, this is absolutely some Yakuza ass shit. So I was like, let me bling up on these motherfuckers real quick. I got the Gold Avengers watch going on. I got a nice. If you're listening to the podcast version on streaming services, you gotta go to the YouTube version and check out my drip, man, because I'm looking good.
I mentioned before we started recording that Tavin's shirt is both as how I described it, and also amazing. It's very, very much Majima inspired, I would say.
I love it.
All right, I had a question to ask both of you. Out of the two main characters, who's your favorite? Both, you can separate it on gameplay and character-wise, or you can just bunch them up together if they're the same.
Am I going first?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Phil, you go first.
I went into this game, and I'm like, yeah, these characters are pretty cool. I like them a lot. And then I switched over. I was playing as Kiryu, and I was like, yeah, Kiryu's really cool. He's awesome. I like playing as him. Then I switched over to Majima. That guy's fucking nuts. He's really cool. Then I switched back to Kiryu, and I was like, okay, maybe I do like Kiryu better. And then we kept going back and forth between Kiryu and Majima. And in my head, it was bouncing back and forth like a game of tennis, Kiryu, Majima, Kiryu, Majima. Who do I like more? It's got to be Majima, man. It's got to be Majima.
See, and I could not disagree more. I'm a Kiryu guy from stem to stern. And maybe it's just because this is a prequel game. So I guess fans would have a different perspective on this. This being all of our first Yakuza game that we've played, at least fully. I was in on Kiryu's story from the jump all the way to the end. I loved his arc. I love how he's he's a Yakuza and he's committing crimes and stuff, but he's just got this solid morality to him that is unwavering. He is the unmovable object, that an unstoppable force is trying to knock down, and he just refuses to go down. And I love that so much about him. Majima, I enjoyed his arc, but I felt that he was too stiff in the beginning, and there's a reason for that. And then too crazy at the end. I didn't feel like we had built an appropriate arc to get to those two different points. You say he's crazy, Phil. I don't know when he got crazy, but it was like just a switch that flipped, to talk about, to get into some spoiler talk. When Makoto gets shot near the end of the game, that's when he just flips and he just turns into a clown, like Joker level clown. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. I wasn't expecting this. And then by the time, the post credits come around and he puts on what I assume is his iconic look. And I was like,
from the other games, yeah.
I was like, all right, cool. Like, I kind of understand how we got here, but there wasn't enough like incremental steps along the way to justify getting here. But yeah, I loved Kiryu the most character-wise, and his rush mode was my favorite like combat stance of the game, which we'll get into that later. But Connor, I want to hear about you and your favorites of characters.
I'm in agreement with Tavin on this one. Kiryu was the man, the strong, silent type. As you said, the kindness of him in the Yakuza world makes him stand out in that regard. Though with Majima, the craziness aspect that I know comes more into play in the later games, which is that's how I've known Majima. Even though I haven't played those games either. Yeah, exactly. See, it kind of it's like, okay, this is what this guy's going to be like going forward. But despite that, Kiryu himself, like I said, that kindness that was in him makes him so contrasted from the rest of everybody else in the game, and also he just has the coolest moments. He's the guy who just, as you said, never gets beaten down, always gets back up if he does, and then he just keeps going forward until the plot's done, and he just beats everyone in his way. Not to mention his gameplay style, I also like the most. Whereas as you liked the rush mode, I liked the beast mode. The picking up items around you.
I did not like beast at all.
Wide swings. So I know you wouldn't, but he's able to do pretty big damage. Not the best against bosses. That's when I would go to brawler, which I like the more simplistic way to just beat people up like that. But the beast mode was still my favorite overall. Being able to use your environment to take down your enemies. I'm really interested to see where the story and those characters go when we start playing more Yakuza games, because
absolutely,
despite it being such a famous series and having a lot of exposure through social media on it, I don't know what happens in the story.
Yeah.
So it was really nice going through it and not seeing these plot twists you didn't see happening, and seeing people who I'm assuming are going to be big players in the games to come, and kind of just get my feet wet with what to expect when we play Yakuza Kiwami eventually.
There is I'm sorry, just to jump in on that. There is one thing I know happens in Kiwami in the first game. That I don't know if it's an inciting incident or if it's like leading into the third act or something. It's probably leading into the third act now that I think about it. But there's one thing that I do know happens, and I'm like, I really wish I didn't know that. And speaking to it being a prequel, I think that is kind of my issue with the game's narrative. Is it being a prequel, you have to deliver characters that are realistic to the fans, give them an arc, and put them in positions to become the characters that the fans know. So, like, Majima starting where he starts is probably really interesting for fans to then see where he ends up by the first game. But I don't think the game has enough time to breathe, even though it's, super big and long. Delivering on these two major character arcs, I don't think it has enough time to breathe to properly do that. So, like, the arcs felt stiff to me. And I think because Kiryu's, like, he doesn't have a massive change like Majima does, I think that's why, like, I bought into his arc more.
I'll say, when it comes to their individual stories, I definitely remember more from Kiryu's rather than Majima's. So I thought Kiryu had a more compelling narrative overall. So in that regard, I do like Kiryu a lot. I just prefer playing as Majima, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Is where I get to it.
Well, then let's jump straight into that, guys. As fans of the franchise know, because I assume they all play I assume every Yakuza game is exactly the same. Like, if you've played one, you've played them all. It's just jam-packed full of cool stories and content for you to explore and play around with. So this is a brawler beat-em-up style game in which you are allowed 3, technically 4, depending on how you count it, different combat stances that are wildly different from each other. And both characters have their own specific stances, but they're sort of like classified in a way to where they're all kind of similar, being pink, blue, and yellow. The blue one is what you start with. That's, sort of your middle of the road. You're throwing punches. You're not super fast, but you're not super slow. And it's sort of like your middle range class. Pink is your fast, light punches, light damage, but, super agile, and maneuverability is a big thing. And yellow is more of the heavy stance, where you are focused on putting in heavy damage. You're a little slower. You've got long sweeps instead of like quick jabs or haymakers. You're doing just long sweeps of attacks and focused on using weapons and so forth. And then technically there's a weapon stance where you just kind of pick up whatever, whether it be bikes, trash cans, full couches, or bats and blades and tasers and guns and stuff like that, which are all fun to play with. So let's break down and talk sort of how we felt about each of these stances. As I've already said, Rush was my favorite because it was fast, it was quick, it was more focused on like throwing out jabs and dodging and weaving and so forth, and getting in quick combos and stuff. I just felt like I was really able to take very little damage if I got caught in a combo by a boss or by one of the higher enemy NPCs. I could dip out of it and turn the tables really quickly. And then I think it's ease of like being able to throw in a quick punch kick to knock them down, and then use that to execute a heat move. That's what they're called, right? A heat wave move or a heat move? Or?
Heat move, yeah.
Heat move. It just felt really fluid to me, and it was never not satisfying, even in moments where like the rush stance is arguably not the stance to use in that moment, but it also just turned boss fights into fucking paper. Like, Kuze never lost, not once, whooped his ass every single time. And goddamn, that motherfucker just kept coming.
5 times that you have to fight him.
5 times you have to fight him. I'm like, bro, you really like, and like, how long does this story take place over? Like a week or two? And sometimes you beat his ass in the same day. It's like, bro, I just whooped your ass. You're coming back again.
It just reminds me of the SpongeBob meme where he's like, "How many times do we have to teach you, old man?"
That's super nice. Oh man, it was great. I love it, and he was my favorite fight every time. Where I was like, I'm just fucking toying with you, bitch. Like, you suck. Even though he was supposed to be the heavy hitter of the main bad guys or whatever. But from there, you guys take the lead. Connor, we kind of heard from you. Phil, what was your favorite stance?
So in this topic, I'm gonna Tavin a few, like I want to say a week ago, you gave us basically your tier list.
Yeah.
Of these stances. So I'm gonna run you through my quick tier list here. Okay, going from least favorite to favorite. Okay.
Least favorite to favorite. Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna have in the bottom. We're going to have the 2 blue stances. We have Thug and Brawler, respectively. At the very bottom. Well, sorry. Below those, Weapon for both of them. Weapon stance it's okay. It's not great.
It's whatever, right? It's like whatever's in your hand. It's not meant to be a stance you live in.
Sure. And then we have, like I said, the 2 blues, Thug and Brawler. I'd say they're pretty equal. Probably a little bit more towards Brawler than Thug. Probably a little more towards Brawler. Then we have... on this level, Slugger.
Wow.
We have Slugger.
Wow. Next. What happened in those last 10 hours of gameplay?
We have Slugger there. Followed by, on the same level for me, Beast and Rush.
Interesting. Okay.
And at the very top, we have fucking Breaker, dude. Breaker is so fucking good. It is busted as fuck.
It is busted. It's super busted.
That big Hitman fight I mentioned in the chat yesterday, I beat him in like, I want to say 40 seconds.
Oh, see, he was a tough one for me.
Just using Breaker.
I didn't die, but I got real close. He was tough for me.
Breaker is insanely good. What you have to do is you hit square or whatever your light attack button is until Majima does like the jump onto the ground. Then you switch to heavy. He does this like varied spin attack on the ground, and it's almost unblockable.
Yeah, you're talking when he like spins on his head forever and just kicks everything.
No,
right?
not on his head.
No, it's a different move.
It's still a spin, but you hit from low and high alternatively. So like it's almost like a capoeira kind of move, like just going high and low, high and low, high and low. It's super fucking good. And then you like do like a freeze pose, and then you do another heavy, and it's like a really cool move to wherever an enemy is, and do like another little spin, like a kick to kind of pick him up off the ground, and then hit him again in the air.
Interesting. See,
it's really fucking
Breaker
good.
For me, Breaker or Break? Breaker for me, which is like centered around like breakdancing, like incorporating into your fighting and stuff. That was my least favorite. which is funny because it's Majima's purple pink stance, which is like supposed to be the quick agile stuff, which is normally what I play to. But I felt like the combos were not interesting. It was too quickly going to him spinning on his back or spinning on his head and just throwing kicks around. It did not feel like the kicks were doing enough damage, and there just wasn't that evasiveness that I felt with rush mode. So it goes Breaker at the bottom. Beast is next because it's just boring and so slow. Why is the walk speed so slow? So
You're a
painful.
beast, dude.
I guess, man. But Connor, don't lie. You're like switching to a different mode to get around, right? Like,
Well, of course I am. Well,
Yeah.
actually, not entirely, because what you can do from the block, which allows you to just take hits like nobody's business. The only other one that has better defense is Slugger.
Yeah.
Because you have a bat to block with. But then you can press triangle, and you do like kind of like a arm bar dash ahead, and you'll be able to basically any enemy out of the way and just get to the next item that's on the floor somewhere and pick that up and start hitting them around. So it makes up for it with moves like that allow you to go from blocking to some form of mobility. But I was finding myself going to grappler a lot, and I was like, okay, I got to go a longer distance to get away from this big crowd of people.
In those ones where they're like, "Hey, run! Like, just run!" Like,
Yep.
You're like, "All right, I gotta get out of here."
Yeah. Brawler was my success story in that segment of the game. I don't think I would have been able to survive without it.
Exactly. Yeah. So then I go Breaker, Beast. From there, I'd probably go Brawler, and then I'm gonna say Thug and Slugger are tied for me. I think I like Slugger more, but the fact that your combo finishers suddenly like it's a bat based stance, like Majima pulls a bat out, and suddenly like so you're throwing out your square punt or square triangle, or like 3 squares in a triangle or whatever as your combos, and the fact that your triangle moves like hit off of walls just really started to annoy me near the end, because it's like, come on, man, like no other stance does this. Other weapons don't do this. Like, it's just this. And that was so grating to me that it just really got annoying, to the point to where, like, initially or eventually I just switched to Thug and was doing Thug more than Slugger, even though I liked Slugger more. And Thug I liked more as a blue stance, just because it did have a little more mobility in my opinion. Like, and you had more options. Like, every combo finisher has very unique animations than any other stance in the game, and it just allows me to be like, okay, I know my heat stance or my heat moves for this stance are focused around being behind the enemy, so let me throw out that move that turns them around, or let me throw out that move that stuns them so I can get around them, or let me throw out this move that's just going to put them on the ground or something like that. Like, there was a little more dynamic elements to Thug that I really appreciated. And then top was Rush, and I've already talked about. Connor, go off, my friend.
I'm doing my tier list. Okay. So, bottom of the list, I'm going to have to say was Thug. I never found I never found that style, when it came to Majima stuff. Slugger had hard-hitting attacks.
Yes.
Wide attacks, high defense. It kind of seemed to cover any of the bases that that Thug could do. And as far as the mobility
good
goes,
baseball joke.
Yes. Yeah. It wasn't intentional, but thank you. Breaker was able to allow you to be more mobile and take out the enemies that are crowding around you. So I found Thug to not really be all that useful, since it was kind of just a less heavy hitting brawler stance, which is what Kiryu had. So that was at the bottom for me. Then I would have to go with rush mode. Even though
me and Connor, two sides of the same coin. You know what I'm saying?
I do like rush mode. Thug, I didn't really like all that much. Rush mode's really good, but I think only for boss fights. Other than that, it seemed to be kind of annoying to juggle with the main group that you usually fight, which is just, the enemies that crowd around you. But the boss fights are kind of at their best when you are using rush mode, but that's not a majority of the game, so I didn't like it as much as the other ones, which then I would have to go with to Breaker, since it just kind of was a nice functional thing to use when I was playing as Majima. That would, I would think, be followed by Slugger, because even though it was cool and fun to use and was the best of Majima's abilities, it did hit walls, and that would kind of prohibit you from using the wide range of attacks that weapon would allow you to do, to the point where I would usually use the one where you kind of use it as like a nunchuck.
The nunchuck move was nuts.
How good is that move?
was.
I was waiting
amazing.
to bring it up.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just
That's
3
cool.
light attacks and then heavy, so then you just
And it just stuns them. It does lots
so
of damage. It gets up your heat fast. It's the best move in the entire game. But,
You guys did the thing where
no.
like you stood in the
Mine's
middle of like 3 or 4 dudes and then just started swinging that shit and like just rotating and knocking them all
Yes.
like around. That was
Yep.
great.
But followed by that, as much as I did love that, I would have to go with Grappler. Brawler. Because just nice fundamental fighting style, which I always am a fan of. From fighting games to action games, this is not an exception to that. But as I said before, Beast, allowing you to pick up and do massive amounts of damage, not only to single targets, but also towards large groups of enemies. The only issue with it being that if there wasn't anything around you during the boss fights, it was, which most of the time there was, but when there wasn't, you couldn't really use it all that functionally. So I would go to, rush mode or to brawler. But either way, all of them had something to enjoy. The only one I would say that I didn't personally like was Thug, but every other one was great.
I didn't mention why they were tied for me, but Rush and Beast are tied for me just because I would do Beast for crowds and then Rush for single target.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And that's generally like how to do it, even though I would use Rush with crowds as well, like just because I loved that mode so much. But there were specific instances of the game that I found myself, and this is why I think the game is like actually deeper than like you would even expect it to be in terms of combat systems, because there are specific moments where you're like, okay, this stance is not working. Like I am getting my ass beat, or just nothing's happening. Like both of us are just stagnant. Like health bars are not going anywhere. So it's like, all right, well, let me switch it up here. And then you switch to a brawler, or then you switch to a slugger or a beast mode or whatever. And then you go, oh yeah, no, now I'm rinsing in with this. Rush mode was great for bosses, except like 1 or 2 throughout my playthrough where I was like, Rush mode is not doing shit to this guy. I need to switch. And then I would switch to a beast mode, which is my least favorite thing, or my second least favorite thing. But it just fucking wasted the Electronic King, which is the second. I guess it's not technically the second, but it's the second one you're likely to fight in the real estate minigame, which the real estate in the Cabernet Club, you go against. I forget what they call them in the Cabernet, but in the real estate they're called
Cabaret, it's the 5 stars.
The 5 stars, yeah. In real estate, it's the 5 billionaires. So like you have an initial billionaire or star that you go up against, and then it opens up, and you get to kind of like pick your target. But just the way that the money system works, you're likely to go along the same trajectory as everybody else, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So the second boss in real estate is the Electronic King, and that guy's an asshole. Like, he was just really, really annoying and fast and had a great defense. So I had to switch off of Rush, which I used 9 out of 10 times with boss fights, and switch over to Beast. And then I just fucking rinsed him. And it was like, wow, okay, yeah, this game is deep mechanically.
It's good stuff. Such a great fucking game. Yeah, I'm in the middle of buying up. I'm getting money steadily so I can buy all of the Electronic King stuff. I've already done the Leisure King and all that. Right now, what I've been doing is I'm doing the Pocket Circuit Racers.
I didn't play this at all.
You didn't do any of that?
I don't know who
like
these people are that you're talking about. Like, I
like
never
a
saw
whole,
them.
It's like a whole little. It's at the very top left of the map. It's like a whole like little tiny car racer.
Oh.
Where you like build your own little car and you go on one of those. It's like, you know, the classic game where like you have a little controller and then you hold it down hard to go fast and then you like slow it down around turns to go, and there's like loop to loops and all that. It's literally just that. And you like change up the tires, you change up the suspension, you change up all that stuff on your car, and it's way deeper than it should be, and it's surprisingly satisfying whenever you get the right combination of parts to beat this track and do it.
Sort of the motto for the entire game is way deeper than it should be and surprisingly satisfying.
Yes. It's just overall, this game just wowed me.
Yeah.
Like I was insanely surprised and kind of frustrated that I had never played these games before.
Oh
Like,
yeah, for sure. I'm mad that I'm playing this now at 25 with a job and a girlfriend and a social
Yeah.
life that I have to keep up with. If I was playing this at 13, 14, 15, 16, like somewhere around there in my early to mid teenage years, oh my god, dude, you would not get me to come out of my room. Like this is so
Yeah.
fucking dope. And it's funny because like we talked, Phil, you mentioned your completion rate. You did 39 hours, 39-ish hours. I did 55, and my completion rate was at like 28, 29%.
God damn.
And for yours to be in the 30s, that tells me that the completion rate is based off of the sub stories and like, you know, completing the completion point list and stuff.
Yes.
What a strangely titled subsystem to be called completion points, but okay. But like clearly that means that like you did much more of like the sub stories, like the actual side missions and side quests and stuff.
I got the trophy for completing half of them today.
Yeah. See, and like I was nowhere near that. I did, I don't know, maybe a dozen or so of those. But most of my time was spent on main story, of course, and the real estate and the Cabernet Club missions, which are huge time sinks. And just because you know you're a trophy guy too, Phil, I would caution you against 100%ing the game on this save file. You can if you want, but there's missable trophies. And there's a trophy for beating the game on New Game Plus. So I would urge you, stop what you're doing right now and just enter a New Game Plus and do a completion run from there.
Makes sense.
What I think I was going to do was do all the completion and then do New Game Plus on Legends mode.
Yeah, yes, but my point is like there are missable trophies that are tied into multi-layered quests. So to me, it doesn't make sense to complete everything as much as you can, but you've already missed some stuff. And then to go back and have to do step 1, step 2, step 3 of those things.
But I don't think the sub stories are tied to any of those, is what I'm saying.
There are a few. I've looked it up. There's a couple of missable trophies that are tied to like, you just won't be able to complete your list because you've missed it, is my point. And there is a trophy for completing the list.
Oh, you're okay. I see what you mean. You mean the
So like sub story,
list.
I'm just gonna pull a random number. Sub story 52 is a missable quest. If you don't do it in the time allotted to you, you lose it. And then there's a trophy for complete the full list. That won't carry over in New Game Plus, so it's best to just stop now, new game, and then go from there.
Damn it, but it's just so fun.
It is a lot of fun, and it takes so long to get to that point.
It's a slow game sometimes.
Dude,
for sure.
I honestly tried to. There's like the Afro guy in chapter 12, I think. He goes by so fucking fast. You have to kill the Yakuza guy with an Afro on like with the gun, and you're in the car.
When you're shooting people in the car?
Yeah.
Story mode?
Oh, him? Oh, I got that one.
Yeah, I know you have that one, and I saw him. I was like, oh, there he is, and I shot him like. I felt like a bunch, but he just wouldn't die, and he just goes by so fucking fast.
I don't know. I got it. Just nailed it. That I have a complaint about that sequence and a critique about the story where like they make such a big emphasis, especially in like literally the last boss fight of like killing is a thing you have like crossing that you don't want to cross. And I guess you could make the argument for the bridge scene, and for context, it's the scene where like you're in a car with Makoto and Oda, I think.
Yes.
And then the Yakuza jump you and like they're shooting at you and trying to run you off the road and blow you up and stuff. So Oda throws Kiryu a gun and you have to jump out the window, and it's this whole sequence where you're shooting everybody. You cannot do that and then have a theme about how killing is a bridge you don't want to cross. You just can't do it. I understand it's a little bit different. It's a little more like self-defense, even thing. And in terms of the final boss, like that would have been straight up murder because the dude was done. You would beaten him. But it's just like, dude, like you can't do that because it takes all of the weight out of that theme when you have a 15-minute sequence of you just gunning down dudes left and right. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Let me tell you, Tavin, that isn't really going to go away. Because my experience before that segment happened, when he was like, "Oh, Kiryu, don't kill people." This isn't really a spoiler because it's not an important character, and I don't even know which game it happens in. But there's a clip people were, because this is kind of joked about amongst Yakuza fans, where someone tries to kill Kiryu with a submachine gun. So he grabs this random guy and uses him as a body shield.
Bro!
And he gets lit up. And later in games, I'm like, well, see, like, I get you're not killing him, but it seems to kind of defeat the point of what you're saying. So yeah, it almost like it's like one of those things that's only done for gameplay, kind of goes against one of the main themes of the game.
Yeah,
it's weird.
This pseudo-narrative dissonance that, like, you're just supposed to, like, check out and, like, only check back in when a cutscene is playing. But it's like, bro, like, I can ignore it for games like Uncharted, where, like, Nathan Drake is a mass murderer. But, you know, murder only matters in the cutscenes, or damage only matters in the cutscenes, like, stuff like that. I can check out with that. For Uncharted, but you made it such a core thing with Kiryu that it's like, hey man, this guy doesn't kill. Like from the jump, they're like, oh no man, this guy's honorable. He doesn't kill. He's a good guy. He's very kind and sweet, even though he is a Yakuza. So he constantly has to play with that edge. But as soon as I hit that bridge scene, I was like, all right, I guess we're just throwing that out the window. And I was like, also it's weird that like he's killing people, but like. It doesn't affect his character at all. And then they brought it back after that scene. And I was like, no, you can't do that now. It's over. I slaughtered 20 people.
True.
Fun set piece, though.
Yeah, right.
It was fun. It was fun. I liked it.
God damn. What a game.
It really is. It really is quite great. Connor, I want to have a conversation now. I know you didn't play too much because you were so focused on getting the story so you could get through Final Fantasy 16 for us, excuse me. But I want to have a conversation about some of our favorite sub-stories. Some of our favorite, like, just like little side quests and stuff that we were going on. Connor, I'll start with you, man. So since you have the least amount to pick from.
Well, I'll go with 3 sub-stories, my 3 favorite ones. The first one was the dominatrix training.
Oh my god!
Where did you guys play that one?
Yeah.
Where you had to, teach a woman how to be a dominatrix, even though Kiryu's not about that kind of stuff. He's not that kind of guy. I guess is kind of what he would say.
He's super not. It's like that. What's that? The SNL Lonely Island guy.
Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg with the not gay song from Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Yeah, but that one, a lot of these sub-stories are very funny, and that was one of the more funny ones. I also was a big fan of the one where you helped make a movie, and you were expected to just kind of, okay, you know what these film terms are, right? And you're like,
the show must go on.
The show must go on. That's what it was called. And you just have to trick these guys into, pretending that you're actually a big name producer. And
did you nail that, by the way?
I did. Every single one was right.
Me too.
And I didn't even know that stuff off the top of my. Of course, you did.
I'll be honest.
Those props, dude.
They're using terminology I was not familiar with.
It's very well terminology.
Or they would use terminology that I am familiar with, but it would mean something slightly different, and I'd be like, I guess, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that one was very funny, and the conclusion of it was just like all of a sudden very heartfelt. Like, don't worry. I knew who you were all along. And you have the makings of a great film producer. And it's just this ridiculous storyline that has a funny ending, but also supposed to be impactful emotionally.
A little heartfelt. Really.
Yeah. The other one I would say involves the son of the member of the Dojima family.
Yep, that's another one that's good.
And I did that one because I found out that actually is a, spoiler alert, is a character later on. And
I assumed he would be. Just because of the kind of focus that they put on him, it felt like a moment for fans of the franchise to be like, "Oh shit, him!"
Yeah, exactly. And they did a good job of establishing a sort of relationship, and it was a cute moment, him dealing with a kid, but still not compromising on who Kiryu is. Kiryu just, overall, I think, had the best sub stories from the ones that I played, the most memorable ones.
Phil, any that stood out for you, or what were some of your favorites?
There was the Sugar Daddy one. That one was funny. Did you guys do that one? It's like a guy who goes to all these different clubs looking for his like long estranged daughter, and he thinks that there's Yeah, he thinks that this girl is his daughter, and then there's the girl that you talk to. She's like, "Oh yeah, I miss I haven't seen my dad in a long time," and it's like the timelines match up, and then they don't even know each other. Like like they have no idea.
That one ended a little awkward, where like they started
Yeah.
like kind of flirting and getting into each other.
Yep.
I'm like, you thought that was your daughter
and she was calling him daddy and all
a
that.
cool like 5 minutes. You thought that was your kid. I did like that one.
See.
I'm sorry. One last thing. I need to, go over. The Dojima one was good, but the only other one that's better is Majima's one, where the little girl who you have to get the toys from in the crane.
Yes, that one's good.
There's a little girl who you have to help out getting the toys and those claw grabbing machines, and it just leads to a nice, heartfelt, solution to a pretty sad situation.
What's really funny? What's really funny is when you do all of those, you recruit her mom for the cabaret.
Oh my god, I didn't even know that. Well, that makes, I guess, money.
It's like all of these things that maybe it's a Western culture thing or an American culture thing, where like it's like, oh, we're providing you opportunity and a job, and this is cool. And I'm like, it's like morally gray, right? And they're like, no, not at all. And I'm like, okay, all right, sure.
One more. Oh, the second part to The Show Must Go On with the director guy, and there's you basically meet his name's Miracle Johnson, but it's supposed to be Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And you have to do like basically the Thriller video.
Oh yeah, it's a shameless Michael Jackson too.
he moonwalks from one end to like a big, I think it's Tenkaichi Street, from like one big street to the very other end, and you have to defend it from zombies. And then there's I think he's supposed to be Steven Spielberg is the guy that's directing, but they don't call him that. I think it's like Steven Spine something.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah. But like it's like they even like name like E.T. or like, a parody name of E.T. and Jurassic Park and stuff like that. And you're like, ah, ha, 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 ha. Maybe even Indiana Jones got mentioned at some point. I like for those of the ones I played, I loved all of those. I did the Miracle Johnson was a highlight for me. The one, and it was an early one that I did, that kind of set the standard for me in terms of sub stories that I was like, oh, okay, these are great. Is the hit new video game is out, and you got to help the kid.
RQ3.
Yeah. And there's a kid standing in line. He goes, "Hey man, I'm the last one who's gonna get it. They already told you. Sorry, you're too late." And you go, "What? What are you talking about?" And he explains that, oh, it's this hit game that everybody's talking about. And then you leave and you come back and he goes, "Man, I got my copy. But this high school kid just bullied me and stole it from me." So then you go and you chase the high school kid down, and right as you get up, you see like a street thug run off. So you beat up the high school kid, and the high school kid's like, "Why are you beating me up? That guy took it." So then you go and you chase down the street thug, you beat him up, and he goes, "Why are you beating me up? The Yakuza took it." And you go and you chase down the Yakuza.
It's like a low level Yakuza, and then it becomes like a higher level Yakuza.
Yeah. And eventually it leads to you beat this guy up. He goes, "All right, fine. Here's the game back. I was gonna get it from my son because we're like kind of estranged because his mom and I are separated and stuff like that." And you go, "Oh wait, shit!" And then the kid runs up and goes, "Dad, what are you doing here?" And you very quickly are like, and this spoke to Kiryu's character to me, where he immediately, without missing a beat, goes, "Oh yeah, this is your dad. He just helped me beat up the thug who stole your game. Here's your game back. Your dad helped me." And it like becomes this great bonding moment. I'm like, fuck, this is good.
That's a good one.
Hear you, man.
There was one for Majima that I also thought was funny, where if you go to the park where you learn like the extra thug moves from like the trainer guy, and there's the bathroom bit, and you like write messages on the bathroom wall. There's like, it's like, want a fun time or whatever, do whatever, respond here, and then you respond, and you like, and then there's a response underneath your response, and it's like, oh, what do you like, or like, what do you look like? It's like, oh, I wear a suit to work or whatever. And then there's another response after that, and it's like, oh, I like that, meet me here. And then it turns out there was people that were trying to trick you and like mug you for whoever like showed up.
God.
And then it's revealed after you beat those guys up. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, we won't do that. There's an actual girl that was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to meet this guy here, but he's not here.
That's and then fucking awesome.
never meets her.
Damn.
I also the buying the kid the porno mag.
Yes, dude, that one was hilarious.
That one was funny. I liked that one as well.
And like it was just the thing where like you didn't want anyone to see you, So like you just don't want to get embarrassed for like buying this thing from the vending machine. So like you're your assistant from the real estate thing, and then there's two ladies that were in the street, and there's two people in the alleyway that just got on break.
Yeah.
So fucking funny.
How did you guys feel about the money system in the game?
It was
How,
interesting.
Right? It's kind of sort of a catch-all for everything. You use it, obviously, to, like, buy items that you need for quests, and also buy, like, health and stamina items, or buy, just cool, like, little collectible things or whatever. But then they also use it to acquire abilities, and those abilities very quickly, like, increase in price dramatically, where it's like, oh, 1,000, 10,000, whatever, and then eventually it's like, oh, you need $4 million to get this ability.
300.
Yeah,
Goes up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it goes from like 2 million to like 15 million, and then all of a sudden it's 100 million. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I like it how it is. It feels like I feel like I could have used a secondary currency for abilities or something like that. But I didn't need it. I like how sort of like the currency goes up in the abilities, and how dramatically they rise in price does make you jump into the other ability trees for the different stances and so forth. And how some abilities carry over to specifically the health upgrades carry over to every stance no matter what. Sort of gives you a good reason to jump around the skill trees and actually keep, even when you have discovered your favorites, you're still jumping around and being like, oh, but I do like this. Oh, but this move seems cool. Let me buy that move and check it out and see if I like the stance better now that I have that move. And you go and you check it out and you go, oh, actually this fixed all my problems, or no, this is actually still not working for me, etc., etc. I liked sort of the pace of that. And then of course, playing the Cabaret Club minigame or the real estate minigame, eventually you just become this mogul, and 4 million, 5 million, a billion yen or whatever just means nothing to you.
Means
eventually.
nothing.
It's just pocket change, you throw it around or whatever, and I love that. Phil, you and I jumped into those two game modes the most. Connor, did you play with that game mode at all? Either of those?
I did the Cabaret once,
Okay.
and I bought some property in the real estate, but I didn't dive into it. Fortunately, I was trapped for time in that regard.
Yeah.
I wanted to do sub-stories in the main campaign.
Fair enough. Conveniently, me and Phil dived into both those minigames pretty fairly. I got 2 bosses in. Phil, how many bosses did you get in with? You did the Cabaret, I did the real estate. Mostly.
I pretty much did one boss each.
Oh, you did one boss. Oh, you did the. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. How did you feel about that minigame, or that system as a whole?
I definitely preferred the Cabaret.
Okay.
I just think it's definitely just more of a game. It's not so much like, oh, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna buy this one and I'm gonna assign this person to upgrade this location, and then I'm gonna defend, because like it felt like it was more of like a passive thing rather than an active like game going on.
And that's why I liked the real estate more, because then I could be like, all right, let me set my security and my managers and so forth. I'm going to turn that up, and then now I'm going to go and hit the streets, and I'm going to go and buy other properties, and I'm going to go and complete some sub-stories or something, and then I'll come back and get my, $50 million.
Yeah. I just liked the Cabaret and how it was like, oh, this person likes short sessions with cute girls, or they just want to come here and talk with someone funny, or they like someone that's like, I think the 4 categories, it's cute, funny, sexy,
beautiful,
and beauty. Yeah. And then
weird ways to classify women, but
yeah. And then there was like another like category where like what they're good at doing, like talking, partying, acting like they love you or something. There's one other thing. I think it was skill was one of them, which is weird.
Yeah, I don't know what that is supposed to mean.
I don't know what that entails.
I did like, because there's a subsystem in the Cabaret Club where like a table has a problem. They need a manager's assistance real quick.
And they give hand signals?
Yeah, they give hand signals to where like eventually they'll just tell you and say, hey, we need the ice refilled, or we need, glasses for wine or whatever.
But the faster you do it, the more reward you get.
Yeah, so they'll give you a signal and you learn those signals and by studying the girl, and you'll be like, gotcha, right here. Here you go.
This right here, refill the ladies' drink.
Yeah.
Refill the guest drink. Refill the ice. I think change the ashtray.
Yeah,
and then menu.
ashtray is that, and then the towel. Give them a towel.
Yes,
is
okay,
they
and then
wring out a
there's
towel.
menu as well.
Yeah. Oh, menu. I forgot. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I really liked those, and I agree with you, Phil. The Cabaret Club is more of a game, and it is entertaining in the situation that you're in. But it's just a thing of like, it felt like a longer trek to get where I needed to go with that. Where I felt in real estate, I could get aggressive, and I'm buying out all of these. I'm buying out all of these properties, and I'm getting real aggressive and focusing purely on that. And then, like, you know, upgrading my properties so I get an even bigger percentage and so forth and stuff like that. Like, it just felt like a faster way to get more money and to attack the 5 billionaires, as opposed to like the slowly just getting your club to be better.
Yeah. I see where you're getting at there. I love both subsystems. I love both the games that are there. I think they're both great additions to this game. And I think, I mean, obviously, like, if they weren't there, I don't think I would necessarily miss them, because I wouldn't know that they were there in the first place, you know?
Exactly.
But they're just good. They're nice things to have, you know?
And they take so long to get to, too, is the crazy thing. I
want to say it's something like
chapter 7 and 8 or
7,
something like
yeah.
that? Yeah.
And as soon as you those early chapters are way longer than the later chapters.
I felt that as well. Where, like, once I started hitting double digits, like, they started going at a fast pace.
Yeah.
Yes.
Epic final chapter.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I think that will do it. Shout out to Horror Fun in the chat saying, hey, how are you? We're good. Thank you. We're reviewing some Yakuza 0 right now.
We're just wrapping it up. We're about to place it on our list.
About to place it on our list. Now, let me open this up real quick just so that I can make sure it's all good. Yes, here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, every game we play in the Game Club, which is our monthly video game book club, we rank it amongst all the other games we reviewed so far. So far, as of right now, there are 13 games on the list. Number 13, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Number 12, Batman Arkham Asylum. Number 11, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Number 10, Halo Combat Evolved. Number 9, Resident Evil 4. Number 8, Portal. Number 7, Resident Evil. Number 6, Chrono Trigger. Number 5, Dishonored. Number 4, Portal 2. Number 3, Hades. Number 2, The Last of Us. And number 1, God of War Ragnarok. Gentlemen, this is possibly the most conflicted that I've personally been on a ranking here, where I have a spot where I would like to put it, but there are a game or two that are ranked lower than I would personally like them to be, that I would personally put above Yakuza 0 here. So now it's a matter of, do I put it above the games that I want to put it above, or do I put it below the games that I wish were higher? And so I am going to sit and ponder on this. And I'd like to start with Phil. Where would you like to place this list?
Tavin, I think I'm about to drop some jaws here, because I'm placing this game at number 4.
Number 4, above Portal 2, below Hades. You know, that's not crazy, Phil. That's not crazy. But it is quite high. Quite high. I'll say it. You know what? Actually, no. I want to hear where Connor wants to go first.
You see, I had a place I was going to put it, and then, as usually happens with these reviews, the moment we start talking about it is when you really start reflecting the most on how fun these games are. And so I'm not as stalwart in my position of where it should go on this list, but I think I'm going to go with my original estimate, just because this one has some rough bits around the edges. And so for that reason, I'm going to have to put it, surprisingly, Phil, in the same spot you said, at the new number 4.
Wow.
Let's go. Oh, Connor! It was really a debate. It was a debate of whether I wanted to put this above or below Hades. And ultimately, I think I would have to go just slightly, barely underneath Hades.
Y'all are fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yes,
so
Connor.
to me, and we've talked about this before, we've already kind of had some tiers sort of formulate within our list, sort of like an S tier, A tier. I think the lowest grade game we've played so far is a B. Like we haven't played a bad game yet.
Well, I would argue that.
To me, the top 4 are the S tier. It starts with Portal 2 up to God of War Ragnarok. That's S tier. And where I was going with this initially is I believe Yakuza 0 is the top of the A tier. So initially I was going to go above Dishonored, but below Portal 2. The problem is, guys, is that they're Resident Evil. Where Resident Evil is tricky to me, where I want to put it in an S tier rank, but it's just not quite there. So I think it would still be that peak A tier. And because Resident Evil is a smaller experience, I mean, a more focused experience, but still substantial enough to be impactful. You know, you'll recall Portal 1, to me, is perfect game design, but it's just so short of an experience that it doesn't leave a lasting impact. To me, Resident Evil 1 is near perfect gameplay design, with a couple of issues that I have here and there, but it's long enough to, create a great impact on me. And so to me, it's like, man, do I put Yakuza under Resident Evil at the new number 8, or do I put it at the new number 5 above Dishonored? I think eventually I was just going to succumb to the fact that I'm just going to have to leave Resident Evil where it is and not gauge that as much. And so I probably would have put Yakuza 0 at number 5 above Dishonored, but below Portal 2. Gentlemen, talk to me. In what world does this game go above Portal 2?
Almost every way. I mean, Portal 2, it's a fun game. It's a fun game. It's got a nice story, but the characters don't match up compared to Yakuza 0. The story doesn't. All of the content in the game does not. It's, as you said, jam-packed full of stuff. The real big thing why I was debating whether I should put this over Hades or not is because it has so much replayability. And ultimately, I think Hades, due to the fact that you can pick it up wherever, and the combat system's a bit more refined, and it's, just a super fun experience as well. Maybe put it just below it. But when compared to Portal 2, it just has a lot more going on that it does amazingly. And I had way more of an impact with Yakuza 0, and I know I will down the line than with Portal 2, where it was very fun when I played it, but after I beat it, I was like, okay, I beat Portal 2, and then I moved on.
I'm exactly in the same place where Connor is, where I feel like Yakuza is more of an evergreen experience, whereas Portal, you play through it once, and then you're like, okay, I played it, I did it. That's that check it off the list,
I feel that. And Connor, to your point about replayability, like, that's a big thing for me. But it's just Portal 2 was just such a like impactful, intentional experience to me. Like, it's just so perfectly crafted in terms of level design and puzzle design and all that. And even though I agree Yakuza is an evergreen experience, you can dive in hundreds of hours of gameplay. A lot of it is really, really good. But there were large moments where I was like, man, I do not care about this. I do not want to be, and I found myself like skipping through dialogue because I just did not care about the scenario that I was in. And I just wanted it to end so that I could go off and go do the next main quest, or I could get to Kiryu faster to continue his quest or something like that, or to, run around and, buy up more property and stuff like that. So I just found moments where I was like, I don't fucking care. I want this to be over. And also like, half the game was regularly like just not as interested in as the other half, and that's Majima's story, where I'm just like, where like Portal 2, it is incredible to me that not only is the 10 to 15 hour experience of the single player campaign so good, but the co-op campaign, which is infinitely harder to craft, is just as good, if not better, than the single player. So to me, it's just, Portal 2 is just way, like, those are master craftsmen, like, just giving you the best work of their lives. Whereas Yakuza 0 is like it's the best fast food gaming, junk food gaming I've ever had.
Well, that leaves us at a situation. Where's it go?
Well, unfortunately, the way the votes work is, normally we would start at the bottom and go up, I guess, of like, hey, is this game better or not? But I lose the vote no matter what, and the game is our new number 4 above our above Portal 2 and below Hades. So the new list, of course, goes number 14, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, number 13, Arkham Asylum, number 12, Uncharted 1, number 11, Halo 1, number 10, Resident Evil 4, number 9, Portal, number 8, Resident Evil. This is hard to do, guys. I don't know why, but it is. Number 7, Chrono Trigger, number 6, Dishonored, number 5, Portal 2, and number 4, Yakuza 0, number 3, Hades, number 2, The Last of Us, and number 1, God of War, Ragnarok.
So it is decreed.
So it is decreed.
Oh, it is written.
So it is written. There it is. God. And we said it multiple times in the group chat. This is the best show we've ever had. Like, this is the best idea we've ever had. Because it's so great to just, even if you don't love the game, you're like, all right, that's cool. I played that.
What do we
like,
play next?
You feel more knowledgeable, and you get through it. The hard part, and Phil, you haven't had to do this. I had to do it a little bit with Chrono Trigger just because I had to condense it because I was moving and stuff, so it was hard. But when you have to play a long game that you don't care for, that's hard. That's really hard to do.
Hopefully, we won't be doing that.
Well, hopefully. So, gentlemen, let's go ahead.
Let's get the wheel ready.
What we're playing next here.
Tavin and I have already made our vetoes.
The lovely wheel. Yeah. So as you, as returning listeners will know, we don't just pick a game ourselves. We have a huge, pot of game titles that we've thrown in, and we add to as we go along in life, and we let the wheel pick for us. So for the month of July, we will be playing this next game and review it at the first week of August, I believe. I'd have to look at our review schedule again. Another thing that I should have picked up before we did that, but here we go. Last month. Oh, I'm sorry. And then each of us are allowed a veto to pull something out of the list before we spin. But it cannot be repeated the next month. So, games that are safe because we pulled them out last month. Red Dead Redemption. And Catherine, and finally Rayman Legends. All three of those games have to be in the list this month. Whether or not we play them is up to the wheel, but those 3 games have to be in, and we are allowed to pull 3 games out. I'm going to start with mine being Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I believe this is the second time I've pulled this game out of the rotation. I recently played it and reviewed it in 2023. I'm quietly working on Tears of the Kingdom right now. I don't know if there's going to be a video for that or not, but we'll find out in the future. But it's just too much right now. I can't do a Breath of the Wild right now.
Fair enough.
Phil, remind me of the game you selected.
I said Alien Isolation because I'm not trying to shit my pants.
Big baby, cry baby, bitch boy Phil said Alien Isolation is to be taken out of the list for the month of July. Connor, do you have a game for us this month? What are we looking to take out, if you want to take one out at all?
Yeah, I do. I was gonna do Breath of the Wild since I want to minimize the long game experience for this month, just because we just did that. So
we just did that.
Yeah.
Granted, not a lot of big games to come out this month, so
yeah,
maybe it is the month to play a big game.
It maybe is. So this is one I do not want to play. I really just don't. And Tavin, I'm sorry, it's Death Stranding. I do not want to play Death Stranding.
Death Stranding is going to be the game that's going to be most picked to come out of the list by the time it comes out.
That's probably true.
Okay, one other thing, guys.
Yes, sir.
Persona 3 is on this list. Do we want to kind of do the thing we were doing in Metal Gear Solid, where if we do end up rolling on it, we wait for the remake to come out?
For the remake? I'm into that.
Early next year. That'd be a lot longer off, but still, it'd be easier for everyone to do, because right now, how do you play Persona 3? You have to emulate it, I'm guessing?
Probably.
No, it's out on modern consoles.
Oh, you're right. It is, but I think I would want to wait for the remake.
When does the remake come out?
Early 2024. That's why it's pretty good.
Because my thing, for those who don't know, Metal Gear Solid, if it gets selected in the list, we are going to wait until the remasters come out in October. And honestly, that's such a short game that we could probably beat it when it comes out and have that be our October game to be reviewed at the beginning of November. Persona 3, if the release date is a little more ambiguous, and because it's such a big fucking game, and I believe early next year is busy as well. Like that one I think changes things. Like I think Metal Gear works because it's so small and you can apply that to any month.
Yeah, I thought it had a release date, but it does not.
Yeah, and it not having a release date, it's just like, all right, well then let's just play the one that's out now.
Isn't Persona 4 also on this list though?
No.
Do you want me to do that then?
We have a
For phasing
tentative
out?
rule that happened several episodes in where we're going to go as much as we can in release order or in an order that makes the most sense. We did Yakuza 0 first because most Yakuza games kind of play the same, so, you know, and it's the same map every time, so it's like, all right, well, let's get the beginning of the story and progress from there.
Well,
As
far
opposed
as
to, like,
Persona-
Metal Gear, like, you can't do chronological order because it's just a mess of game titles. It just makes sense to go in order. Resident Evil, it's like, do you play the originals or the remakes? Let's just go in release order. So
then we'll ignore that rule. We might not even roll up on it since there's so many other games on
there's
this list.
so many other games. 96 games currently in the
I was
list.
gonna say, it's a 1 in 96 chance.
93 of them currently in the list for selection.
1 in 93 chance.
Yeah.
Real quick, did you take out Portal 2? I see it right there.
You are correct. Portal 2, get out of here.
Oh shit!
Get out of here.
Get out of here. All right, so 95, 92 games available for selection. So let's get it done, boys.
Let's find out, guys.
You can see the screen, right?
I can.
Here we go.
There's always a little bit of nervousness about
It
what's going to be
is, and
considered
it's because the wheel spin takes so long too. That's what drives me crazy.
And what is it, guys?
Oh, please be something manageable because
I hope it's near.
I'm trying to get through my backlog. Oh shit. Oh
Shadow of the Colossus.
shit. Okay. What's funny?
Connor was right there.
I was
I know.
Final Fantasy VII was right fucking there.
Oh, no. I was looking at something else.
Oh,
Get rid of that.
Vampire
It
the
was
Masquerade
close.
Bloodlines. That's
Right
hilarious.
next to it. Look at how close
Oh,
it was.
shit.
Look how close it was. I'm
It's
going to be a little
was it
angry
closer
right
to
now.
that or was
It's
it closer
like-
to they're so
done real
small.
quick.
It's
Hit done.
Clicked in. It's
Done.
like right there. It's right there. See it?
Oh man, it is right there.
There's
Oh
snug
man.
right between Final Fantasy VI and Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Oh, that's
Well,
Final Fantasy VI. I thought it was 7.
I've-
Okay.
Never played this game, and I've been wanting
7
to.
is next to Masquerade Bloodlines.
You haven't played Shadow of the Colossus, Connor.
I've seen it played. I have not actually played it.
What's interesting is I was actually listening
I'm in the
to
same boat.
an old kind of
nice.
funny review of it, or re-review of it. They re-reviewed it in like 2020 or something like that. And just for funsies, because I was bored and had nothing else to listen to, I was listening to that. I've played it like 1.5 times. Of course, we'll probably just play the Blue Point remake since that's such a faithful recreation of it, and it kind of just makes sense to do that. Also, the most accessible version of the game. Gentlemen, I urge you. I believe in the remake they added like a game hints or like tip system in there. I urge you to turn that off. You don't have to, but I urge you to turn that off. But even more so, I severely urge you, don't look up guides. Don't look up
No.
things because each of the colossi kind of function as their own little puzzle. And it's really satisfying when you figure it out on yourself, by yourself. So Shadow of the Colossus is the game to be played through the month. That's an easy one. That makes me so happy. That's like maybe a 2-session sitting game, you know?
It's just 9.5 hours long, which
I was gonna say, it's relatively short, right?
Yeah. I would have said, between 10 to 15 hours, somewhere around there. So 9.5 makes sense to me.
on sale as well. That's only matters to me.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with the Game Club video game book club review series next month in August. One of the first episodes to go live in August of the Two Penny Gamescast will be our review episode for Shadow of the Colossus. Remember, you can get us at youtube.com/@2pennygames. The review goes live on Sunday after we finish recording at twitch.tv/2pennygames at around 4 p.m. Central Time. And it is attached to the Two Penny Gamescast, which goes live on Mondays at 8 a.m. Central, youtube.com/@2pennygames, or mainstream podcast services of your choice. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Until next time, have a great time. And gentlemen, say goodbye to the people.
Bye.
Adios.